The J&J Podcast.
I'm your host, John. Just take your vitamins. There's vitamin C, there's D, there's B. He's John.
And they were just like kicking people's butt, throwing them over the side.
The J&J Podcast.
We're excited to have you guys a part of these conversations that spark curiosity, ignite creativity, and dive deep into the world of leadership and innovation, culture, business, and other personal growth.
That's some wild music, John.
It's pretty crazy, right?
That is very good. Very good. Very good. Very good.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to J&J Podcast.
How's everybody doing?
What's up, big guy? How you doing this week, man?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
How'd any trees fall down in your neck of the woods?
No, man, but this weather's been absolutely crazy from Sunday to last night with all those severe weather and stuff, right?
Yep. Last Sunday, I think we got most of the wind last Sunday. And then yesterday or last night, I can't remember because I didn't get much sleep at all.
Me either.
All I knew is there was tornado warnings, tornado watches. The whole state was red. I mean, it was just like, it was crazy.
What was crazy is that line of storms, a total 738 total warnings in all, right?
Really?
And 250 of those were tornado warnings. How crazy is that?
Yeah, because last Sunday, we didn't have that many tornado warnings.
No.
We just had high winds.
Yeah, we just had high winds. But last night, the storms across the country were scary. I hope everyone's safe out there. If John and I can help you at all, if you have no power, you need help with anything, we're here for us. Here for you. Just message us. But yeah, that was crazy because I was sitting there by myself watching TV and everyone was asleep in my house. And I was like, what's going on? My wife runs out. She's like, there's a tornado warning. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's fine. And then it showed up on our TV. And then the sirens went off, and I was like, what?
Well, the thing is somebody told me, I forget where it was. It may have been when it was moving towards Waynesville and Lebanon.
Yeah.
That they had 100 miles an hour wind. And I was just like, seriously.
That's scary, man. I mean, the weather's been crazy the last couple of years in general. And now we're supposed to have, I guess, biblical proportion worth of rain the next couple of days.
Yeah.
So,
I think I'm going to build an ark. I'm just going to stop and just build an ark in my backyard.
we're going to have to start calling this the Noah and John podcast, I guess, right?
Exactly, yeah. I think what I'm going to do is just take down my neighbor's fences and start building the ark like,
Gosh.
what, 3 football fields?
Oh, my God.
4 football fields?
You're crazy, dude. I love you, man. Everything else going okay this week, though?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really been sick or anything like that. How's your family been?
Everyone's been healthy.
Well,
We
there you
survived
go.
This week, man. So another great week at work, and just living the best life possible, man.
There you go.
Yep. So this week, the last couple episodes, we've been talking about us,
Yep.
right? Then the viewers get to know us, but now we're going to jump back into topics and stuff. And I think this is a really big topic, very relative topic. And we're going to be talking about identity. So, John,
Here you go.
what's the definition of identity, bro?
Okay, so the definition of identity, and we just try to make it real simple, but what we'll be doing is talking about some of the bullet points and some of the definitions, and then also bringing out stories. Because stories is very important. I mean, that's what Jesus did.
Yeah.
He told stories, he told parables. And so I just want to make sure that we give examples, we just don't give definitions, and we really want your comments too
Yeah.
on what your guys' thoughts are on that. But identity refers to character, personality, and experiences of an individual or group. And so it basically talks about your character individually. It talks about your personality individually. And it talks about your experiences. So everybody has a story. Everybody can learn from those stories. And I'm going to go a little bit biblical here. But even in your Christian walk, everybody has a story. Like, John, you have a bunch of stories. I have a bunch of stories. And people identify by your story and real life issues more than well, I just heard this author say this. That's great and everything, but stories is very important. So we're going to talk about tonight personal identity is basically it's shaped by how we see ourselves and how others perceive us, and can we evolve over time. So how we see ourselves
Mhm.
and how others perceive us. So from a personal identity standpoint, John, do you have any stories or examples on?
Man, it's hard finding yourself as a personal identity. Let's be honest, because when you even start back as a kid, you had to start your personal identity through high school, and it goes back to people pleasing. By the way,
It does. It
it
does.
really does, because you can lose your identity if you care too much what other people do,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
following them, and you can lose yourself in that mix. But we've already talked about that. So personal identity, I don't really have a big stories. I think for me, it's more going through different journeys in life and getting to figure out what your personality is and loving yourself and finding yourself. When you're trying to find your personal identity, you need to take yourself, I think, away from the group aspect of everything and really search within. And like I said, you don't want to go and let other people influence your identity. It's very, once you know your identity, you know what kind of people you want to be around. You know what kind of things you want to be involved with. You know what kind of things that make you excited, what kind of stuff makes you scared, right? So when you're trying to find your personal identity, I think it's all about finding the stuff that's healthy for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it probably took me until I'm 37. I don't care. I'll say my age. It probably took me till probably about 35 to truly understand my personal identity. It really did.
Yeah.
And it's going through different journeys, like graduating from college, doing crazy stuff in college, having different jobs, like starting off in sales, right?
Yeah.
Finding your personal identity with your career, finding my love for recruiting and helping others, right? That's a person identity. Getting married, having children, figuring out what you love, loving playing disc golf, like loving to hike, your personal identity, being around people that bring the best of yourself out and trusting those individuals with your personal identity, that they're not going to kind of confiscate it to a different identity. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think when it comes to your personal identity, you have to take hold as yourself and not be afraid to make your personal identity as strong as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could tell you stories for days, but I don't want to bore everybody. But some of the stories, like getting married with my wife, had made my personal identity as a stronger individual, like what I believe in with God,
Yeah.
and what I believe in with another person who can make me stronger, stuff like that. Being in nature, like we talked about, right? That's finding my personal identity, where I can sit and dwell and talk to God, and also dwell and talk with myself to figure out what's my anxieties, what's my fears, and how I can overcome them. So that's the kind of stuff, John, I think with personal identity for myself and how it's shaped is really taking the time to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to use this a lot the next couple of weeks, is being you.
Yeah.
And not them, and following the crowd. I remember when I was a kid, my mom always told me whenever I followed the crowd, she's like, well, if John jumps off the bridge, you're going to jump with him? I'd be like, yeah, Mom, because that's cool. But being older and more mature, no, I don't want to jump off the bridge with those people. I want to have my own personal identity and be myself. And like I said, I think it's really important for you to be you and not them.
Yeah.
So
how, and I'm just going to throw this question out. So individually, before you got married, how did your personal identity changed when you were an individual person versus when you got married and had a partner with you?
I think that's a great question. You just want to go out and do everything that everyone wants to do all the time.
Yeah.
Because you want to make people happy. And that's going back to people pleasing. So before I got married, all my friends would be like, oh, let's go out, let's go have fun this weekend. Let's go to the movies, let's go to the bars, let's do this, let's do that. And I'd say yes all the time, but I was exhausted because I wasn't filling my tank up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To the things that I wanted to do. I wanted to do what everyone else wanted to do. So I wasn't able to find my identity. When I got married, my wife helped me slow down.
Right.
I'm not like wasn't a crazy party animal or anything like that.
Right.
But she helped me slow down and really find my own identity in myself and realize, oh wow, these are why I have my anxieties. These are why I have my fears.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And slowing myself down and really looking at myself in the mirror, like, oh, okay, I can be healthy with these people in this way
Mm-hmm.
and find my own identity this way.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, what about you, John? I mean, personal identity with you, how important is it for you?
I think personal identity really, like you said, it came later in life with me as well. Because, when you're a teenager, you're doing teenager stuff. When you go through your 20s or, you're doing partying stuff. I mean, just let's be real. I don't care if you're a Christian, if you're a non-Christian, whatever, you're still going to the clubs, you're still partying, you're still doing stuff. You're basically trying to find yourself, really.
Yeah.
But the thing that I found out that when I would go out with my friends, and this goes back to people pleasing and boundaries, but it was my friends that I picked.
Yeah.
Because either my friends can help me or they can hinder me.
Absolutely.
Either my friends, and I look at like friendship is if I had a problem and I was in the hospital, who would come and see me?
Yeah.
Because then your circle of friends change a lot.
Yeah.
And who would, if I got in trouble, who would be there by my side to bail me out or to help me?
Yeah.
So with character, I feel it's important, and because character also changes your personality as you grow and mature. That as you move into like adulthood, and you move out of the corporate world, because a lot of times your character is not. Sometimes it's molded even in the work world.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because there's a lot of things that people want to do in the work world and in the work world, and there's a lot of stuff that happens. Because let's face it, in the workforce area, you're there maybe 8 to 9 hours a day. And then you go home with your family. But then all of a sudden it's like, well, let's go out and have some fun. Just to blow off some steam is what they call it. But then it's kind of like, okay, if I have a family, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But as you get older, it's kind of like, well, is it really going to help me? Is it going to hinder me? And can I go to work the next day and be 100% into my job? Or I'm going to be like, man, I shouldn't have went out last night because I can't do my job. I can't function. I can't think. What happens the next time is you go out again.
Yeah.
And it's a slippery slope. And so at that point, you have got to set boundaries on what is my character. Then kind of like what your belief system is. And then also, who are you going to hang out with? Are they helping you or are they hurting you? Yeah. And so I think personal, you grow out of those things as you mature and as you move on with life. Now, I'm not married, and I don't have any kids. So I have a little bit more freedom. But you know what? Loneliness sometimes is rough. Yeah. Especially when it comes to personal and character and going out and wanting to do things. But as you get older, sometimes it's good to stay home and watch cartoons all night. I mean, I'm okay with that.
I know you still watch Bugs Bunny. It's okay.
I do. I watch Woody Woodpecker. And my best one is, what is it? The Roadrunner.
Roadrunner, okay.
I love Roadrunner and Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
I can identify Tom and Jerry.
Just for the younger generation, just let you guys know, that's from the early 90s and late 80s. So
right. Right.
But no, yeah, John, I agree with you about personal identity. And, with the workforce and stuff like that, I feel like you have to go through job to job to job to find your personal identity to where it makes you happy at those jobs and setting boundaries at those jobs too. But like, I've been through a bunch of jobs the last 5 or 6 years, as you know,
Yeah.
and I'm finally at a place where I feel like I can truly show my identity at that workplace, what
Yeah.
I mean? And help that company grow. Feel very blessed by that, but I feel like with work, it takes time with that stuff, just
Yeah.
like with your personal life, right? Like, I finally feel like in the first time in my life, the last couple of years, I have a core group of guy friends that I feel safe and comfortable with, that I can talk with, where I don't have to impress you guys. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
I can call you up, like, John, let's hang out. You know what I mean? Or if I don't talk to you for like 2 or 3 weeks, you're like, I get it. There's no
Right.
drama or stress. And I think that takes over time, to grow that personal identity. We're kind of talking back and forth about personal identity, but let's talk about the other one, social identity,
Oh, yeah.
because they kind of go hand in hand. And the thing is, it's the group or category that someone belongs to, such as family, culture, and other things. So, John, talk to me a little bit about social identity in your opinion.
I think social identity I think sometimes in social identity, especially with social media, you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have Facebook, you have all these apps on your phone. And I dare challenge you, check and see at the end of the week how much time you spend on your phone versus how much time you spend other places. And I challenge you to do that because it will be a wake up call. Because I dare say that you probably spend more time on your phone than you do interacting with people. And I think it's kind of interesting that I've even talked to and challenged students with this, not only me, but if I were to forget my phone and I was on my way to an appointment, you better believe it, I'm going to do a U-turn and come back and get my phone because we have identified our phone with our character or our personality. That is how sometimes we can disappear in life. Is if we can disappear on a social media app, spout whatever we want to say and however we want to say it to the world or however we want to say stuff, and some stuff that we're thinking in our mind, sometimes we put on social media, and sometimes that could be damaging. Even with students, going back to my example, is if I were to do a U-turn, pick up my phone, but in the Christian world, how many times could I just leave and not even pick up my Bible? Would I do a U-turn if I forget my Bible? Yeah. Now, I know it's on the phone now, but do I have a Bible app? Do I have something that strengthens me throughout the day? Because I've even challenged students with this and myself is try a couple days without getting into the Word of God or praying or inviting God into your agenda. See how your day goes then.
Do you think with social identity and your personal identity hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's important to find social groups that strengthen your personal identity?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I gather myself around with some people, John being one of them, and then some other people that I can actually brain dump and just be real with them.
Yeah.
Knowing full well that they're not going to judge me, but they'll listen, because a lot of times what we do is we don't listen and we talk and we find an answer, but we're not really listening to the person.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think sometimes with social media, you can bully somebody and you may not think that you're really doing that. But when you put stuff out there, it sometimes may hurt, and you pinpoint because there's clubs out there, there's different restaurants you can go to. And if you're not accepted like to the club or membership or to, to that restaurant or dress the part, you're shunned.
Yeah.
And even in schools, students are shunned if you're not part of the clique.
Yeah, the social identity. It's scary. I mean, I remember that being growing up, you had your popular kids, your unpopular kids, your nerds, your non-nerds. And it's crazy as an adult. You think it ends after high school, right?
Right.
And it doesn't.
It doesn't.
But I think it's important you find that social group that strengthens your personal identity.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, in my opinion, you should push yourself sometimes and get around social groups that you're not used to being around just to, learn about it, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because one thing I will say is that, and I haven't done this and I should, but grieving with, I've talked about my family being gone, but going to a grief group as opposed to a counselor, I think is more important to hear other people's stories that could help you through whatever you're going through.
Yeah. I agree. And going back to the social media stuff too nowadays, like I feel like we lose our identity when we get sucked in to social media.
Yeah.
Like I'll be honest with you, I've sat there and I like to call it doom scrolling, where you doom scroll by yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you get into these comments, and sometimes you see comments people put on posts like I get sucked in a little bit where I'm like, I want to make a comment, but
Right.
I don't because I know it's not right.
Yeah.
But I do think social media is a good thing but bad thing. I think there's give or takes with it. But
I do want to say this, that with anxiety, depression, social media, the suicide rate for kids and students in schools and also adults are basically about the groups that you hang out with and what you think of yourself and what you think of your personality. But there is no shame on if you are mentally struggling, find somebody to talk to and be able to trust that person to be able to do a brain dump rather than you going through it yourself. And I think that's where the group part comes in.
Yeah.
Is because all of a sudden you're thinking and thinking and thinking to the point it's kind of like, I just want to take my life and be done with it. That's not the answer. The answer is to seek after help. There is no shame in seeking after help because we all have our demons. We all have our mental issues, whatever that may be, whatever category you want to put that in. But please, please, please learn how to brain dump to somebody that you can trust that will not judge you, but will listen and will help you. Because mental issues with everything that's going on is huge.
Yeah, and there's so many social groups nowadays being bullied, which that's a whole different topic for another day.
Yeah.
But just know that John and I are here, and if you need like resources or someone to talk to or someone we can connect you with, we're here. Don't be afraid to message us. We want to help people be successful. And we can also help you find social groups and stuff because we know a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have a lot of connections with a lot of different people. If there's been like a topic like with business you've ever been interested in or some activity, John and I are here to help you guys find those groups to help you become a healthier person. So.
Put in the comments too, not just what you think of this video after you share it, because you will share it, hopefully. But also if you have a prayer request.
Yeah.
I would love to maybe connect with you, maybe pray for you about something you're going through, rather than you going through it alone, because prayer is big. And praying for, and just if you want to go ahead and not share it out there. And if you say, hey, I have an unspoken, I need prayer for my family, or I need prayer for this. That's all you have to say. You don't have to go in detail so everybody sees.
Yeah.
Or you can direct message us, and we'll be willing to pray for you. There is going to be one episode that will go live, and we're just going to take in the prayer request.
Yep.
And just pray for people.
Pray right there and pray right live. Even though that's going to be embarrassing for me because I'm awful live, but we'll make sure we want to make people feel comfortable. We want this to be a community. It's not just about John and I. We want this to be a big community where people can grow within themselves. And that's why we're talking about identity tonight. That's why we're trying to bring up social identity. Don't forget not to lose yourself in life because you care so much about what others think. Always take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
Because that's what's most important.
Yeah.
So, well, John, I feel like this has been a great talk tonight. What do you think?
I think so too.
Awesome.
Yep.
If you guys can like, share, follow, please comment. We appreciate everything you guys do. As always, thanks for meeting up with me and John tonight. We hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next time. The music isn't playing. Sorry, guys.
Very good. Hey, you're still learning, guys.